Now when we talk about the Article 30, so Article 30 is about right of minorities to establish and administer educational institutions. So what does this saying? It is giving a rights to the minorities, where the 29 is talking about any section of society. So 30 is basically related to the minorities. Now here we can say that minorities which is to be considered in the terms of religion. So minorities is been given, and that's why that sometime it says that Article 30 is been exempted, unaided minority public schools or unaided minority schools. Many times we have come across this term, right? Yes or no? Unaided minority schools. So the minorities has a right to establish, means they can form their own, they can found their own educational institution, and also they have a right to administer the educational institution. Means they have a right to start their own educational institutions, plus they have a right to administer. It means to maintain and maintenance and to decide about the administrations in terms of educational institutions, like who can be a teacher, a teaching or non-teaching staff, what are the procedure to admit the teaching and non-teaching staff, recruiting them. This is all to be given right to the minority institutions under Article 30. Is this clear? Yes or no? It's clear? So Article 29 is talking about any section of society, whereas Article 30 is particularly specified to the minorities. But the still minority is not been defined in Article 30 also. Okay? Is it clear? So write down cultural and educational rights, Article 29 and 30. So together we will write about the these two rights. First we will start with the minorities. Minority, the term minority. 29 and 30. The word minority has not been defined in the constitutions. Supreme Court in its judgment in in T.M.A, T Telangana, M Manipur, A Ahmedabad, T.M.A Pi Foundation, Pi, P-A-I, Pi Foundation held that the word minority is not defined in constitution, but literally it means a non-dominant group. It is a relative term and it referred to represent the smaller of the two number or section or groups called minority. Full stop. In that sense, there may be a political minority, religious minority. In that sense, there may be a political minority or religious minority or linguistic minority. What is political minority? बताइए. Certain section is not been represented into the political democracy or political aspects in the country. Women are not represented in political aspects. That is, they are not enough. So we can say politically minorities there may be. We can say that. Religion, see, that as a term, religion is something which is related, or it's a belief, kind of belief. Sex is different. Homogeneous we cannot say. Individually. अब अगर आप दो religion, अब if you are distinguishing between inter-religion, then minority, one will be minority, inter-religion. I'm coming to that. If we are distinguishing between inter-religion, so there will be minority. Now when we come to the intra-religion, denomination or sect, yes, there again are minorities. एग्जाम्पल में देख लीजिए, शिया, सुन्नी, अहमदियाज, बरेलवीज. So they are intra religious, they are minor. One is majority, जिनकी population ज़्यादा है, जिनका belief, जिनका faith ज़्यादा, वो majorities में है, वो चीज़ें ज़्यादा decides करने related to the religion. Those who believers, the believers of certain sects are less in the number, so they will be less. So but state is not going to decide on the basis of in terms of this in 29. So देखिए, what we are getting ना, we are getting confused with the certain terms that क्या state decide intra religions के basis पे करेगा, वो तब करेगा जहां उसको state को reservations provide करने की बात रहेगी. मैं अभी बताया आपको मैंने कि अभी जो देवेंद्र सिंह केस जिसमें सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने ये जजमेंट दिया कि शेड्यूल्ड कास्ट इज नॉट अ सोशली होमोजेनस ग्रुप. दे आर नॉट कंसिडर्ड एज अ सेम, कि पूरे इंडिया में जो शेड्यूल कास्ट है वो सेम है. शेड्यूल कास्ट अगेन हैव अ डिफरेंट सेट ऑफ सबसेट, सब क्लासिफिकेशंस. इनमें भी कुछ आपका क्या होगा, माइनॉरिटीज और कुछ मेजॉरिटीज में होंगे. राइट, फॉर एग्जांपल वी कैन टेक वन, इफ यू टेक वन स्टेट दैट इज पंजाब. पंजाब इज कंसिडर्ड एज अ largest number of scheduled caste in the state as a terms of state. अगर हम कहें कि which state has a largest number of scheduled caste, so in terms of that Punjab is considered as a great highest first place. ठीक, but it does not mean that all the scheduled caste which comes under the in Punjab have a similar representations. Right, वहाँ पर एक community है that is a leather weaving community. The another component is known as Majhabi Sikhs. Another which is known as a Balmiki. Now this Balmiki community are a sanitation worker. This leather weaving community are those who are been employed in a profession of leather. राइट, सो दे, अब आप ऊपर से अगर आप देखिए तो दे आर शेड्यूल कास्ट, यस और नो. बट इफ यू गो इनसाइड under the, if we are entering into the sub classifications, so we can say this community, leather weaving community in Punjab and Haryana, are in a majority among the scheduled caste, which the court says that they are been benefited more in reservation policy. So now it is time that the concept of creamy layer, which is only applicable to OBC, has to be there in the scheduled caste also. उससे क्या होगा कि those communities who have been benefited more through the reservations and who has through reservation has uplifted their status economic. आप अगर किसी को बोलेंगे कि if you're talking in terms of minorities or lower class, backward class, तो backward class हम कैसे define करते हैं? There is no certain kind of definition, but it says economically, socially and educationally, right? So when we talk about the backward class, it means we're talking about certain class who are not economically represented or who are not economically well off, who are not educationally, or who are not politically. Yes, these are the terms on which we decide the backward classes. तो यहाँ पर Supreme Court has said कि this communities, leather weaving communities or certain communities in the scheduled caste are been more benefited than the other one. Now it is high time that those who have been left, in spite of that the reservation is there, but the representation in the government service, the representation in the education is lesser. Why? Because certain section has been getting more benefit. So now it is time that they should, who have been benefited more, should be not carve out, rather there should be a certain criteria like a creamy layer to impose that those who are been left within being in a community is not been represented much. Are you getting my point? Right? So हम अब इंटर रिलीजन में भी, यस देयर में भी माइनॉरिटीज, लेकिन जब हम इंट्रा रिलीजन भी आते हैं तो वहां भी माइनॉरिटीज होंगे, कुछ सेक्शन ज्यादा मेजोरिटी में होगा. तो माइनॉरिटी टर्म इज नॉट समथिंग विच कैन वी कैन इजिली बी डिफाइंड, बट इट सेज ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ language, religion, where a one dominant group is, the other is lesser dominant in that group. So yes, it can be under the inter-religious. लेकिन फिर स्टेट की जब बात करते हैं, स्टेट जब प्रोवाइड कराएगा तो स्टेट कैन नॉट गिव अ रिजर्वेशंस इट बाय सेइंग कि नाउ ओनली वी विल प्रोवाइड रिजर्वेशंस टू मजहबी, सिख और वाल्मीकि. That is again there will be discrimination because they are also belonging to the part of scheduled caste. So what they can do, they can sub-classify within the state. That's why the Supreme Court says now it is high time that the scheduled caste or tribe should also be sub-classified by the state while providing their representation into the educational institution or on the basis of in the employment. Right? जैसे मैं आपको एक दूसरा एग्जांपल देता हूं. In terms of Andhra Pradesh, if you see the Andhra Pradesh, right? Now there are two types of scheduled caste. Generally, what we talk about, one is Madigas and one is Mala. The Andhra Pradesh government has constituted a committee known as a Usha Mehra Committee. Now, what is the objective of this committee is to study the representation of these communities into an all India services. That is specifically if we talk about the IAS and IPS. This is the objective of the Usha Mehra Committee, to study the representation of this. This committee has found that this Madigas, being both are scheduled caste, both belong to the same category of scheduled caste, but this Madigas were considered as a majority in the minority. So this is this committee has found in the study that this Madiga constitute to 75 to 85% of services in all India services, which is reserved for scheduled caste. And this Mala communities, which are in a minority, they have been only 15 to 20% representations are there in the all India services. This is a study done by this committee, which is constituted by Andhra Pradesh government. Now the government, on the basis of this report, will sub-classify them. So those who have been benefited more by the reservations till the time, and among those who have been least benefited. Are you getting my point? So through example we can understand, yes, minorities is been within a two religion if you're talking about the religion, and again intra-religion also. Is it clear? ठीक है, चलिए. So writing in a judgments, what you have written, it is a relative term and is referred to represent the smallest of the two number section or group called minority. Next, in that in that sense, there may be a political minority, religious minority, and linguistic minority. Now write down the this article 29. We write about the article 29. The expression minority has been used in two sense. Article 20. We are writing about article 29. Protection of interest of minority. The expression minority has been used in two sense, based on religion and language. Next point. The minority educational institution retain its minority character. A minority educational institution retain its minority character. Retain its minority character as long as it continues to achieve two objectives. First, to enable such minority to conserve its religion and language. And second, to give a thorough, good, general education to give a thorough, good and general education to children belonging to such minority. It's clear? Now write down the differences between Article 29 and Article 15. Achha, one more questions. One thing we need to ask in the Article 30, that as we have seen that Article 30 is the right to establish its own and administer its educational institutions, right? So it means when we talk about the establish, it means we are talking about the right to start, right? And when we talk about the administered, it means we are talking about the administration. Right now, this administrations is also been like teaching or non-teaching staff hiring, right? This also includes medium of language, that in which language they want to impart the educations, that is also been included under the administrations. Is it clear? So maintenance of how to maintain the administrations, what rules and regulation, that is to be decided by those minority who has been established an educational institution under Article 30s. So they have also right to provide a language, in which language they want to impart the educations. So that is to be decided by the minority institutions, not by the government. Is it clear?